Hi, everybody. We've moved now from Clubhouse to LinkedIn Live, and also Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter via Periscope. So we're going to pick up on the discussions that we had on Clubhouse. I am waiting for a couple of other people to join us, hopefully. But Adam, welcome.
Thanks, Tim.
And Rob, welcome.
Thank you.
Good. It was actually a cheeky way of me finding out if your microphones were working and stuff. No one will know, will they? Because I suddenly, when we were on Clubhouse and we were on here, I had all the different voices in coming, and I was thinking we're going to get some echo or something. But so let's.
Funny, isn't it that we said one of the things that's so lovely about Clubhouse is the fact that it doesn't have any video, and now we're back on video, and all of a sudden I feel much more comfortable for some reason.
It is. I don't know. I think it's. I mean, I remember having video calls at the beginning of the pandemic, and people were scared about putting the video on because we weren't used to it. And now we are. So Thomas has joined us. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
Hello.
I'm doing well. That was a great conversation.
Yeah.
So are we carrying on the same conversation here? How does that?
We are, yeah. So Neville's thanks, Neville. Appreciate it.
Hi, Neville.
And good friend of ours, Lorena.
Hi, Lorena.
And Eric's joined us.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. You're going to start talking Italian like Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro. Yeah, exactly. Well, that was quite interesting.
So
that chat.
Yeah, very good. So any highlights from today?
Yeah, I really like the point that you made there, Tim, at the end with respect to talking about how you can't force people by their job description to be social. I thought that the comment that was made earlier with respect to that and putting it into somebody's job description was a dangerous step backwards, and we've probably all seen that fail.
Yes,
it's like that old saying, isn't it? Beatings will continue until morale improves, and it's exactly that, isn't it? You can't force people to be social. You can create a framework for them, and then hope that they pick it up and are themselves. But
right.
You can't be prescriptive about that at all, I don't think.
Go on, Eric. Go on.
I like the part about, or the part that stuck out was about the whole piece about there's a lot of choice and there's a lot of new. The little bit of chat that Thomas and I had where we agreed that you have to be focused, you have to be driven, you have to get into that whole process and that muscle memory that Adam asked the question, how do we cope with all of this being on all of these platforms? But then the question was about, should we dive into the new, and that temptation for everybody to go, right, run across here now, and everyone run across there. But staying focused, staying active where it's important to be active, but having scouts that are out checking to say there's new territory here, there's new oil in these wells, there's new whatever interest over there is important.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea. I mean, Anita came up with a great thing about the fact that what do companies, which use the word brands, but I took the more of a company as big as hers, how do they choose to go on what social media platforms?
Yeah.
And I loved your analogy of there having to be scouts within an organization saying, we've tried this, it didn't work, we tried this, it didn't work. And one of the things that I think we all have to bear in mind is that 2 months ago, if you'd asked me about Twitter Spaces, I would have told you it was crap.
Yep.
I went on the Twitter Space like recently, and it was really good. So it's not just about trying it and saying it's rubbish, we're not doing it again. You've got to continually experiment. But I love this idea of that, about companies need to have scouts that will go out, or people that will advise them about what they need to do.
I think
Totally.
I think the other thing is that it's not just about you and the sophistication of the platform and your sophistication of the platform. It's also about everybody else. So, you know, if you're the only one that's advanced and the platform is advanced and the audience aren't, and they don't contribute and they don't have conversations, then actually it's going to fail, isn't it? Because your experience will be a very poor one, because the nature of it is that it is social networking. So you have to be social. Hello, Lenwood. Talking of social.
Hello, Lenwood. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
We're excellent. So we're talking about we've been talking about social networks and why you should be on them. And one of the questions that was raised by Anita was the fact that companies, big companies, brands, how do they decide what social networks to go on? And it was Eric, wasn't it? You came up with the word scouts, that we need to have scouts out there to in effect test and try social networks and see whether they're the right things. Do you have a view on that at all?
I would just say that with all the social networks, and no matter what you're doing, you have to experiment. Experimentation is part of the digital process, and companies at all levels, particularly the end user level, have to learn how to test the different channels, their content on different channels, to see whether it works, and get comfortable with failure. You know, if something doesn't work, it's okay. You try that somewhere else.
And that's quite a big cultural change, isn't it? It's being comfortable with failure.
Absolutely. That's really part of building the new digital culture, the culture that's needed to succeed in the digital world. All innovative companies, and every company needs to strive for innovation, or strive to be innovative. And so you have to have a culture of people willing to experiment, where people are resilient so that they can rebound from failure, and where management accepts failure as part of the process, part of the learning process for the organization. So those are big cultural changes for everyone.
Yeah, I think we've all worked for organizations where blame was the culture.
I was talking to someone. I was talking to someone online the other day who was telling me that I said, you know, I've made some mistakes, and they're like, no, you've never made a mistake in your life, Eric. You've just had learning opportunities. And I said, well, I've made some absolutely howling learning opportunities in my life.
Yeah, that's it. That's part of being a learning organization, right? Being able to fail and experiment and fail, learn, and do that very quickly. Very important part of the cultural change.
Well, Ken Robinson said in his TED talk, didn't he? He said that in order to be creative, you have to be prepared to fail. Now, he said, I'm not saying that creativity and failure are the same thing, but what we know is that you'll never do anything original if you're not prepared to get it wrong. Mm-hmm. I think that that's not just a corporate belief system, though. That's a personal belief system, isn't it? You have to be prepared to stand up and make a bit of a fool of yourself. And the great thing about making a fool of yourself on a social network, particularly a new social network, is that there's probably not going to be many people there to see you make a fool of yourself. So there's a degree of safety attached to that, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure.
But there is something quite exciting. I think you said it, wasn't it, Adam, that you know, being involved in something in a social network early days, because we've seen a whole bunch of social networks come and go, and I've seen, you know, I remember someone telling me that there was a blockchain social network, and they actually invested money in it, and they wanted me to join, and I actually got Tim as went in and chose Tim, but it never took off. But it's really exciting to get involved in a social network, and it's taking off, and people are talking about it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And
yeah, but the early days for social media in general. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay, Lynn. That's okay. I was just going to say, but it's still really important as to what everybody was saying earlier to have those scouts or change makers. I think that's a term that probably applies as well. That are actually doing that and bringing that to the team and bringing that to the organization, so you can see what in fact is a good fit and see whether or not it fits into that process that you want to create, Eric. I suspect that Eric would be a real taskmaster when it comes to that process, right? Because I think that's got to be the most common word I hear coming out of Eric is process, and it goes, oh my God. But that's still a good thing. You have to have some process, right?
Oh, totally. That you know, okay. This is going to sound like a humble brag because it was none of my work. I merely pointed in a direction and helped people pack some bags. But one of our clients got a massively viral post. I think it's become quite famous now. It's ridiculously viral post. 13,000 likes, 1.2 million views of a very, very simple little post that just went viral. Then one of their colleagues went viral a couple of weeks later. So out of a team of 6 now, 4 of them have gone viral. And they have this virality competition now because it's become fun and games, right? So it's the C-suite group we were talking about earlier that have put social right at the heart of their daily business. And one of the remainders that was always there is their head of sales in America, over in Reno, Nevada, was getting quite frustrated because he got a viral post yesterday. He's now up to 500 pieces of engagement and several, I think 11,000 views on this piece of content. He's made new connections out of it. He's got on calls because of this, and he's very, very assured that this simple little post again is going to result in some commercial interaction for that organization. That's got to get you excited, right? And that's by following a process.
Yeah, that's
and I think that's important.
I knew you were going to sneak that word in there.
Yeah,
and I think that's important, Eric, isn't it? It's not just about going viral; it's about getting the commercial interaction.
Totally, because the virality itself is useless. It's what you do with the virality, right? It's what you do with it. How you turn that into real life chat.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that so many people are missing about the social media opportunity, is that you can have a process where you're turning your conversations, your social interaction into those likes, comments, all that stuff into the commercial interaction. So it's strategic social media, right? It has a purpose.
But you know what's so powerful, and just jumping off of what Eric was saying and yourself as well, and what is, if you put up a viral, or somebody puts up a viral post and you like it and then you comment on it, and this has got to be, and I've had this happen a few times, and suddenly, and it doesn't matter where it is, it could be LinkedIn, it's actually more often Facebook, to be honest, but in any case, the CEO or one of the senior people in the company jump in and say, hey, thank you, Thomas. That was really interesting. This is why we're doing that. I think, and that blows me away.
Yeah.
And it blows me away, and I'm somebody that lives on social a great deal of time. Can you imagine what it does to the people that aren't as active? So, but to Eric's point, that creates, a whole culture and a whole attitude and a whole different persona for that business, and that's more powerful than anything you'd ever buy.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because the organization, when things aren't working, right, then frustration and anger and blaming permeate, right? And the opposite is true. When you find something that does start to work and things do start to tick together, then people are excited, they want to do it, they want to be involved, and it just changes everything culturally.
Yeah, great.
So one of the points that was made in the clubhouse session, and we always get this sort of seesaw of opinion, and it's not like people disagree with each other. It's actually that there's an agreement, which is, the question is, why do we go to social? And some of it is, we go there to be with like-minded people, and the other is that we go there to meet new people. And I know from my experience with Twitter, I've met hundreds, if not thousands, of new people on there. And then, if I've met people from Twitter in when I was in Seattle in 2019, the only thing that we had in common was the fact that we knew each other from Twitter. But from a commercial interaction perspective, it gives us a great opportunity to not only keep with our tribe, but also find new people to bring into our tribe, and then maybe even to have a commercial interaction with them. Any points?
Oh, totally agree with that. In fact, I'm actually surprised. I've only had a couple of people talk to me about, the next salesperson I want to hire, and this is, due in some part because of our conversations. I want to make sure that, they have this big a network on Twitter or on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And in fact, they're actually prioritizing the people they're bringing in to interview and talk on that basis. And then they're asking my opinion. Can you take a look at their profiles and tell me whether or not I should be hiring them? And so to me, that creates a whole opportunity, doesn't it? Right?
Whole opportunity for you to train them, Thomas.
I had never even thought of that, Eric.
There's opportunity everywhere, Thomas.
But
it's interesting, Thomas, that people are interviewing based on and actually putting a qualification, that they're stipulating that there needs to be social, because that backs up what Gartner's saying.
Yes, that really is true. And the one department that I love working with above all else is HR, because so many HR people really do get it now, right? And I tell HR, you really need to talk to marketing because you get it, and they don't always. So, but HR gets it, and they're seeing the power and the ability for them to move through their recruiting, hiring, and development process so much faster and cheaper with the online world. So totally, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I had a call with a CEO this week, and he said the most social person in the world was the head of HR. The sales team don't understand it, but HR do. And he said, one of the things he's trying to do is that, if you're going through he's trying to explain to sales, look, if your buyer's going through a buying process, they're not just going to evaluate the product, they're going to evaluate the service, they're going to evaluate the culture. And therefore, there should be people from HR and the CEO online, because they are the ones generating that environment that your prospects and your customers are going to see.
Yeah, and even further in the organ, right? The customer success team, right? If the new customers can see the customer success people engaging with existing customers in conversations, it becomes very transparent, and they see what their future will be, right? When you move through the sales process after you're a customer, this is what the future is going to be. You're going to get this kind of interaction. So there is some interaction that's happening on the social media platform. There's interaction that might be happening on a Slack channel or on Teams or something like that. But you want to give them visibility and a sense of what it's like to be part of that ecosystem, right? It's new.
What a change, right? You can remember just a few years ago, if you went into a boardroom and people were all on their cell phones or their smartphones, that was a bad sign, right? And sure as heck, somebody's going to tell everybody to put them all away. And today, of course, that's exactly the opposite. We tell them to pull out the smartphone and to be talking to and engaging and online and active and be part of that world. In fact, you don't need to be here. Go do that. That's going to be a lot more productive for the company than you're being present in this meeting.
And you're just going to be closer. When you're on social media, and you're just having conversations naturally. Of course, you're going about your sort of strategic activity and having conversations as part of your strategic activity. But when you're engaged with your customers or they're seeing your content on a daily basis, you are getting closer to them. It's not like you only talk to them on the phone, or it's only through email. When you add this new dimension of social media, it's just, you're so much closer, so much closer. I'm amazed by social media every day. I am. It has been actually really thrilling in terms of how I have expanded my, I would say reach, but just the people that I'm talking to on a daily basis. I'm talking to people all over the world every day. And it is totally amazing. I got some inbound this morning from a company in India, right, that wants to do some training. So, it's just amazing to me. and that can happen overnight. It's not something that it's going to take me 60 2 or 3 years to become an international company. I mean, in 30 days you could be an international company, and that is really remarkable.
Social media just deletes boundaries, doesn't it? Deletes geographic boundaries. It doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist.
It does delete those boundaries, but only when people are social. So hearing you speak, Lenwood, I mean, there's a really strange paradox here, is that anybody who is able to have a social interaction with another human being or group of human beings have all of the tools at their disposal that they need to be an absolute rock star on social. The fact remains that most people aren't. And the reason they aren't, they're not, is that they don't remember that it's about a person-to-person interaction. They don't remember that it's about conversation and about being yourself. So, they think that when they step in, particularly with their suit on as part of their business attire, they step into the environment and they begin to pitch. Now, if they turned up at a party and I walked up to you and shook hands with you and say, "Hi, Lenwood, I'm Adam. I sell pens. Can I just go through the benefits of this pen with you?" It would take about 5 seconds for you to turn around and walk away, or just to punch me and knock me out. Because actually it's not an appropriate way to behave. Everybody in the world gets that. And yet you step onto social and people forget that. And that's where the problem comes. And so much of our time is spent reminding people, be yourself, be friendly, be helpful. That's what people want. That's what people expect. That's what these platforms were created for. If you think about the Facebook mission statement, now you could argue that Zuckerberg isn't the god that everybody thought he was perhaps at the beginning, but the mission statement is beautiful, isn't it? To make the world a more open and connected place. And if we all took that as being our own mission statement on social, it would be a much better place.
Yeah,
here.
So anybody watching, if you've got any questions that you want to raise and you want to ask the panel, please ask away. Please, we love questions. Make them as difficult as you want or as easy as you want. Please ask questions.
Get Adam to do the old Jordan Belfort "sell me this pen" as he was about to start there. It all went a bit Wolf of Wall Street there for a second.
I was curious, and I wanted to ask everybody on the platform this morning.
Yeah.
Have you been on a session or in a session with Clubhouse where there has been a little bit of an eruption on the basis of a debate? Let's call it an active debate. I'll call it an argument over this point or that point. Have you seen that live on Clubhouse yet?
I've heard about it. I've heard of a few instances where people have lost it a little bit, but I've never witnessed it. Have you, Thomas?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, just happened yesterday, in fact.
Wow. And did you go back and apologize?
You're far too astute. I did not, but I certainly did enjoy what came after the fact, right?
Right. You have to unpack this now because we're all intrigued.
It was really, really interesting, and it was two diametrically opposed opinions. And as you guys know, I'm involved in the leather industry quite a bit, and it was actually a group that's related to that. and it was the whole sustainability against, you know, the vegans basically against the vegans.
Just to explain, when Thomas says he's involved in the leather industry, it's actually he's got a client that I'm just
Not helping.
And thanks to Shimmer for her comment. Thank you.
All of the imagery has now been changed. I'm not even sure I can continue the conversation. But nonetheless, it was a very, very interesting event. And I was really impressed with the moderator in that particular group because, of course, you have the opportunity to just close people down, and I think you can remove them. And they didn't. And they let it go, and they let the audience come in, and there, you know, took about 10 minutes. But there turned out to be a really productive, fruitful, interesting back and forth, you know, about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And I think the interesting thing, Thomas, is the fact that there is a brand taking the discussion onto Clubhouse, because we were talking about, you know, and Anita was saying in the Clubhouse that you know, how do brands get to actually talk? And here is a brand talking about, and I've seen, was it PwC or KPMG? Sorry guys, you all sound the same. Talking about, was it Internet of Things or taking conversational subjects and creating a discussion and a conversation from it. So well done to your clients.
Yeah, and they did a really good job of it, and they kept their cool, and it turned into a very productive conversation. And even the two people that were butting heads in the end both appreciated each other. It was actually really.
You see, Thomas, that's what. See, thanks, Kevin. That's why I had to clarify the situation. I mean, when you said you were into leather, I mean, you know, I had to frame that.
I've got to be much more careful on social.
Poor Kevin's got
there was a weird spike in engagement right when you said that.
Yeah. Everyone's piling in there.
Everybody's checking my profile picture.
The influencer conversation is taking a turn, and there was a spike.
Poor Kevin's got an image he'll never be able to unsee.
Oh boy, too funny.
But I think the more we invite that, and the more we create environments where that's acceptable, and the more we let our people do their own thing and be creative and be online and social, and the more we try all these other different channels, and your example with respect to Gary Vee was so spot on, you know. Yeah, you didn't turn out to be the best channel, but he learned skills now that are applicable to all these channels that have taken in that technology. So, I mean, that's what we want people doing, being themselves.
And I agree with Kevin. I mean, you know, Gary, you know what, you know, Gary, everything he pretty much says is of value. And I think it was, for me, it was one of those things, because I saw him going saying, you know, Snapchat is really big. And it was something that, that drove me into Snapchat. I actually had a new partner at the time, and she had a 17-year-old. And I actually used Snapchat, and actually learning Snapchat actually enabled me to have conversations with that 17-year-old. But the things that I've learned on Snapchat I've taken on and then actually used on video. Unfortunately, I bore everybody because I keep changing my Facebook picture to pictures that I've created on Snapchat. It amuses me. I doubt it amuses anybody else.
No. I'm not just blowing smoke here, but I sit and chuckle a lot at how you present yourself on Facebook. It's just fabulous. It's always.
I just deliberately. I've always got a picture with hair. I just keep week after week. There's a picture of me differently with hair, and it's just But anyway, it's about those skills. And I think the Clubhouse will either be bought or will become something else. But the thing is that what we're learning, the same with this LinkedIn Live. I mean, you know, in a way, this is our second one, and we're still experimenting with it. But this whole medium of restreaming as well is just think something that we need to get into because we need to understand it.
Something you said, Tim, sparked a thought. We're learning even as we're using Clubhouse and so on. How do you think the whole format of the different conversations on Clubhouse might impact the way we do live events going forward? I can envision some of the learnings from what we've got here really changing the whole panel moderator type.
I agree. Why wouldn't you run your sales kickoff on Clubhouse?
Yeah.
It's free. I know that generally people will say, I want to see the person presenting, but you can use it. So I have a friend in Seattle. She's just launched a book where she's just currently crowdsourcing the money to. So Terry's written a book about how to blog on Instagram, which is blog on Instagram. Anyway, so she's in Seattle. So we agreed to meet up on Clubhouse to talk. We didn't phone each other. We didn't Zoom call each other. We basically agreed I will be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, my time, and that's 11 o'clock her time. She uses Clubhouse. Basically, she says it's a bit like a podcast. She just puts it in her ears and listens. And then we agreed that we'd meet at that time. And then we went and had our own private room and had a chat. So just saying your point about the fact that we can be using it for our own, for different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like the idea of using these platforms together, and I really see the having an event that is live streaming for the people who want to be able to see the presenter. And there's also some activity happening on Clubhouse or some other social media. I haven't quite worked out in my mind how that works exactly, but it presents different kinds of opportunities and different kinds of experiences based on how people want to experience things. And I think there is a way to manage that so people can have the experience that they want to have. And that's ultimately going to increase engagement across the whole spectrum, right, of the audience. What's the word I'm going to have? Their desire, their how they want to experience it, right? Because if you want to have a Clubhouse type experience, but you can't have it, or you can't be part of the experience live, right? That's streaming made it possible for people who couldn't be there live to be part of the event. And I just think that this also creates an opportunity for people who can't be watching it to be part of the event, and they can experience it just with their ears.
So I'm just working through some of the things that we were talking about. Enables you to meet new people, which is what Kevin said. We need scouts, which is what Eric said. Social isn't part of my job, which is what Anita said. And you said something, Thomas, about COVID-19. You may not remember what he said, and all I wrote was COVID-19, and it was one of those things I went, wow, that's one of those mic drop moments. Thomas has done another one at 1:45. Every week he does it.
Yeah.
COVID-19, and there's a silver lining to every cloud, is that famous saying, but it's changed so many things. I mean, when you look at people's perception of work today versus what it was before, that is not the same. When you look at how people are communicating internally in an organization, that is not the same. When you look how people clock in and clock out of their daily jobs in many cases, that is no longer the same. And therefore, all these things with respect to how they communicate and take advantage of that or not is all changed. And so people now, they go into Clubhouse and they're talking to customers and they're doing things that they weren't doing when they were back at their desk, at GM or Ford or or IBM or wherever it was, and they're doing these things. And our opportunity to show companies how to, you know what, you need, this is great. You need to get your arms around this. This is something you need to leverage as a business. And they can see that now. And this very behavior was always there. It's only now become much more apparent how effective it is because of COVID-19. So that's where I was going with that, if that helps.
That's a great point. Widely held beliefs totally deconstructed out of necessity.
Yes.
Management's belief about productivity, right? If you had said pre-COVID-19, talk to any man, there's, must be in front of me, must be able to see them in order for them to be productive. Seats, butts in seats. That's what I want.
Absolutely.
Just totally destroyed.
Where's Steve gone? Where's Steve? Has he had a 2-hour lunch break?
Exactly.
And now, although it should have always been, and now it's about, did the job get done and how effective was that, as opposed to, as Tim is saying, were they here from 9 to 5, whatever that is. That's gone. It's just gone.
Do you think it has? That's my question. So I would like to think it had. I would like to think that people are being employed and paid for their output. But I think there's still a huge number of managers that are using, they've got a cleft stick and they can beat you with either end. Thomas, you haven't made your number. Or Thomas, you were 10 minutes late for work. Well, you can't.
We've got a client that says that they always use carrots and sticks. It's an old joke because they said if they don't work to the stick, then they beat them with the carrots.
I like that.
It'd be interesting from the audience. Do you think the workplace has changed at all over the last 12 months, and whether it will go back to the way it was 2019, where we're all going to go on a train covered in germs to sit in an office with a whole bunch of people spreading germs? Do you think that will happen?
So I think there's going to be a hybrid. It's not going to be one extreme or the other extreme. There's going to be a mix, and as Adam so rightly pointed out, there's still going to be a lot of people that are stuck in their old ways, and slowly but surely they will be removed as that dying plant was in your office. So that will change. It's not going to happen overnight, but I can tell you that COVID moved that along very, very nicely. And there's been an enormous change for people that are awake.
Has it?
Woke. That's the word.
Has it? So I think that I would like to believe that, but I think that what we are seeing is that organizations are mindful of the fact that their staff have struggled in the last 12 months, that people are battling with mental health issues and loneliness and all of these ideas. But as soon as this is over and some semblance of normality returns, I think that we will still be in that situation where it's 9:10. Oh, half day today, Thomas, and comments like that. I think that we will still find that people default back to that factory working mentality of you clock in at 9, you clock out at 5.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you. Millennials.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Thomas.
Yes, well, I'm always the optimist.
Thomas, you live in a particular place in the US where, how do I put this politely? Their normal life is carried on.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of truth.
There hasn't been a lot of people self-isolating and things like that. So what are you seeing in terms of that change? Whereas my experience is I talk to people all over the world, Australia, India, America, and we're all sitting at home working, and none of us want to go back to the office.
Yeah, well, but that's still very much true here. So while day-to-day life is maybe not as greatly impacted in many areas of the U.S. as it has been in other areas around the world, primarily because the attitudes are just different. But I will say that more people are working from home even yet, Tim. So that is still very true, right? And most of the meetings that I have, the people at the other end are in their home office, right? Yesterday I did something that was a first for me, and I had a virtual doctor's appointment.
Thank God you said that. I thought you were going back to leather again, Thomas.
Eric, I'm starting to think it's you with the problem there.
It is.
But Thomas, but Thomas, you've also been asked to deliver face-to-face training in Texas.
That is very true. That is very true, and Texas is its own conversation. But I will say that so that is coming, and I'll add to that. I'm going to do it, right? So that is a different attitude, but still 90+% of our meetings are in that light and are. So that understanding is there, but more importantly, whatever we come back to in terms of the new reality, that's going to be an expectation now. So it's going to be A, do you want to come here, or B, do you want to do this? And then ultimately it's based upon where you are in that conversation and the importance of doing one versus the other on the basis of what you bring to fruition, right? But in most cases, it's going to be, let's just, let's not waste time. Let's get on a Zoom call or a virtual this or that, hash it out, get to where we need to be. And if we need to take it further, we can. If we don't, then we don't have to. But no waste has been accumulated along the way.
I really think it's going to become a competitive issue where the market is really going to take care of it, because there's going to be an enormous competition for talent, and the people who get the digital culture thing and are making the behavior changes, those people are going to be more valuable. Think about the person that's activated a powerful social network. That person has increased their value on the market. And there's going to be a lot of competition for those people going forward. And I think it will be a bit like the use of whale oil.
Thank God it's not that.
Let me tell you where I'm going.
It all came to you knew that we were all going to stop when you said that, didn't you?
It was a dramatic pause for effect.
It was, wasn't it? It was comedy pause.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit like the use of whale oil, right? So before whale oil was used widely for lighting at night, factories did not stay open at night.
Right.
So then it becomes a competitive issue. If your factory can keep the lights on at night by using whale oil that is cheap and good, then your people are going to be able to work more, right? And so ultimately what happens is all the people who say, well, we can't work at night, we can't do it. They say, but my competition, they're working at night. And I've got to work at night. So it's going to be the same kind of thing where I've got to, in order to compete in the market for the best people, I've got to have a flexible work environment, or I'm not going to compete.
That's very true. And just off of what Adam said earlier with respect to, the other side where there are a lot of people that won't change. Millennials now make up the biggest part of the population. They're the biggest part of the consumer population. And you've got Gen X and Gen Y, and their behaviors are completely different.
Yeah, their values are different.
Totally. And if you don't employ that thinking, that mentality, and those values in what you're doing, just to your point, you will not be competitive. You will not attract those people, and you'll soon not be as effective in your own marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the change that's rapidly coming, right? And I think that's what drives it, along with all these technological changes.
I'd love to hear the C-suite conversations about travel budgets right now.
Yes,
and must be brilliant. Yeah, travel and marketing budgets must be amazing. So the travel manager sitting down there, right? Things are opening up again. So how much budget am I getting for travel? Well, let's think about this for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, very,
Yeah,
very
virtual,
interesting.
Yeah. It's
So
I
back
think
in 2013, 2014, I was working in a corporate company and they decided to cut travel. Because as a technology company, the view was we had the technology, therefore you don't need to travel because we've got because you can use the technology. And it made no impact on the revenue of the organization. In fact, we made 15% more profit. Now we were only the UK, so we're only part of a big corporate, but the UK turns over $1 billion. So if you work out what an extra 15% profit was on the $1 billion, you can understand that the next quarter came along. They said you're not traveling again. So I was told on the QT that one of the UK banks has done an analysis, and they reckon that they make an extra 2 pence. So that's what $3 for every pound that they make. So every $1.30. And if you think about a bank makes billions and billions, by getting rid of all of their real estate and all of their buildings, that's how much additional profit they can actually take to the bottom line.
Yeah. But I like going into the bank and putting it's not there anymore.
It's more of the offices rather than the
the office is going to be something different. It's going to be something different, something smaller. I think I don't know what they're going to do with these huge corporate campuses, but I just think that is going the way, that's going away. Just doesn't make sense in this telecosm that we live in.
This what?
Telecosm word of the week.
Yeah. I think
whale oil and telecosm.
And leather.
Yeah. What a
I don't
session.
think I'll ever bring that up.
Telecosm.
Yeah. Right. We're experiencing the telecommunications revolution. I mean, this is, telecommunications is transforming everything. Everything is built on a huge telecommunications infrastructure, right?
And now with 5G coming, but you know what I would say to that, Lenwood, is telcos are they're at the pinnacle of the worst when it comes to customer service and customer experience. And yet they are the providers of much of the digital technology that we're using right now. They are the worst, right? I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to get, and I can't speak for the UK, but I can certainly speak for North America.
You can, Thomas. It's
you worked it out. It's the worst. Telco companies are the worst for customer experience.
The worst.
Well, I can speak for England. I can't speak for Scotland.
They're very good here. Very good.
The Scottish take pride in their telecommunications.
Big time. Big time. Hello there. How are you today? Let's have a wee cup of tea and chat it over. Yes. Can I just circle back to telecosm, because I just found in the free dictionary
it up as well.
So, coined by noted technology guru George Gilder, the telecosm is a world with an abundance of bandwidth. I like this. Gilder compared the early microcosm to the telecosm, the former being a world with an abundance of transistors and a scarcity of bandwidth. The telecosm is the opposite, an abundant bandwidth with a scarcity of transistors. The transistor scarcity is due to the ever-decreasing size of handheld devices.
And what did Intel announce today? A lack of chips.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which again is very offensive to a Scotsman.
Yeah.
A lack of chips.
The telecosm is creating just an unreal demand for chips. And the interesting thing is that the pandemic has only accelerated that, right? The demand is just exploding for everything, even more than it was before. But I've got Gilder's book. That's how come I know his book is somewhere.
And I thought you'd made the word up, Lenwood.
No, I didn't make that.
I was just about to say to everybody, remember where you heard it first.
I was hoping to go on to Farlex, the free dick, coined by noted technology guru Lenwood Ross. I was hoping for that.
I was updating Wikipedia.
Noted futurist.
Futurist. If Kevin O'Donnell's still online, I don't know if he is or not, but I'm sure he's into telecos and being a tech-minded energy man.
Yeah.
So where are we now?
Anything else you pulled out of the clubhouse? Because I've gone through all of my notes and all of the big moments. Come on, smile at least.
Well, I think that Clubhouse has legs, and I think that the point that Rob made, which was, that really lit the light bulb for me, because I'd forgotten about that, and that is there's another wave coming, and that wave is, as Rob so rightly pointed out, is that Android is about to come on. I don't know if it's actually been given a date when Android comes on, but when it does, that will absolutely create a second wave into Clubhouse, and that impact will make a big difference. If nothing else, it's going to increase its sell price to whoever ends up buying it. But it's definitely going to. It's not going away anytime soon. And even while you said, Adam, that it's not necessarily the best with respect to how it does it, it is the best in terms of its promotion of itself and how well it's done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think more companies can be using it. That's for sure. That's something I would recommend.
So I'm very sorry, everybody. I have to jump off because I have a call.
Yeah, you have a one-to-one, don't you? And
it has been a pleasure, as it always is. Thank you to all the guests for your great questions and interaction on this. And thanks to the team. And I'll see you all soon. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Same to you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Have a good weekend.
And then there were 5.
Our telecosm shrunk.
Telecosm shrunk.
So how are people finding the restream experience?
I think it's lovely.
I know that for a couple of you it's new. Other people it's your second week. But how are you finding it?
Well, this is my first time on it. It's really quite interesting.
I think it's really cool. I'm going to experiment next week. I'm doing my first live next week on Wednesday. I'm going to start advertising that. So next week.
Is it a live Cruxcast or something different?
Something different. So I'm just doing a LinkedIn live. Actually, that's a beautiful link. So what I'm going to do is we did something interesting this week where I lent out my podcast to someone to allow them to do something. So this person came to me and said, I really think you should do a Cruxcast about this. And I said, actually, you know all about this. Why don't you know like when these big popular bloggers have a guest blogger? And I like that concept. So we've got a guest host on our podcast. It's kind of weird, but it's been great fun to do. And we staged a little takeover video and stuff like that for a bit of fun. So what I'm going to do is with the Matt, the chap that run that, is I'm going to unpack what he learned from doing that debate with some really learned people in that space. The whole issue is about transitioning ex-armed forces people into corporate world or into jobs, and how it hasn't been particularly great and well handled before. But now there's new amendments to the Armed Forces Act that are forcing care and forcing employers and the armed forces to look after these people more. And provide training and do all of that, maybe in a slightly better way than they had been done. So what we're going to do is it's an excuse to tie up a thread of content that's been running through for a couple of weeks now, and we're going to unpack that next week. But
So when is that, Eric? What time?
That's Wednesday at 12 o'clock midday UK time.
UK time, okay.
Yes, sir. So I'm now swithering whether, just for comparison's sake, whether to use Ustream or to use another platform just to see what it's like. But I really love this. I actually prefer this to, I know it's not apples for apples, but I prefer this to Zoom. I think this is a nice space to be in.
I do too.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really nice.
It's more informal, isn't it? It's I don't know, yeah. It's very cozy. Yeah.
Very cozy. Very cozy indeed. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. So yeah, I'm experimenting with that and looking forward to first live. You're an old hand now.
Yeah. You got it. I don't know if I mean Adam's not here, but he's got live. It says in the instructions you have to use it in 60 days. Or
60 days.
Yeah.
60 days, yeah. And keep using it regularly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and thinking of nice diverse. So I'm personally planning on using lives in a slightly different way. So Cruxcast is about a person's journey. I'm going to do lives about a subject.
Right.
Okay.
So, and we'll see how that works, and maybe in a couple of months review it. So that's the kind of position I'm taking. But you're doing great with these. But even from a practical perspective, I don't know if everyone knows this, but even for those that are listening, if you go into Tim's profile right now on LinkedIn, it's amazing what doing this live does to Tim's profile right now.
I'd like to check that out.
Yeah, go for it. It's look at what it does to Tim's profile. Have a look at that.
Wow.
Holy moly.
So the live experience is now the banner.
Wow.
And users, if they drop in past Tim's profile, can just click through directly, just hover over and join. That's really cool.
Wow, that is really, really cool. I really like that.
And that's
So that-
rather
and don't
new.
forget, yeah, and don't forget, I'm also streaming to Twitter through Periscope, my YouTube channel, and to Facebook.
Wow.
And hi to Neville. Thanks for dropping in.
Good afternoon from
That's great.
Southend on
Does it do
Sea.
the same thing to your Twitter profile?
Yeah.
Oh my
Very
goodness.
powerful.
So Lenwood and I did the first Tim talk yesterday on this, and it was pretty cool. But the thing about that there's a difference. If you're getting questions coming in, it can be a diversion to the conversation that you're trying to
Of course.
in your head and the journey that you've mapped out in your head. So sometimes you have to pick the question and then go back to the. But yeah, it adds a nice dynamic as long as you're happy with that.
Yeah, I really like this restream, and I like the engagement that it gets, and I think it's only going to grow as people start to use it and see.
Of course, in your head and the journey.
I think it'll grow.
Yeah.
I think someone's looking at your profile with the audio on.
That's me.
Yep. And just this whole live thing has become. So there's a funny story about LinkedIn Live with me. Tim, is it okay if I share my funny story?
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah.
I mean, I love a bit of self-deprecation because it's an absolute storm. So
it's better than self-defecation. Yeah.
So about 6 months ago, and I looked on the open tickets. Make sure that you name people in comments, right? Okay, cool. About 6 months ago, I applied for LinkedIn Live, and I don't know. I can't link back to the day, but LinkedIn ignored it and closed the ticket without even feeding back to me. But it stayed up. It stayed visible as a closed ticket, and I then reapplied again about 40 days ago and was rejected again. I think I was rejected because of the first application, because when I looked back, I was like, oh, dear Lord, what was I thinking? I thought at the time, I read an article that there were so many LinkedIn Live applications at the time that the one or two people in your region that are looking after this are just swamped. So I thought, I'm going to stand out. So I applied via the medium of rap.
No.
True.
Rap music.
No. So I wrote what could have been confused as like a really bad poem, but in my mind was a little funny rap application.
That the person, when they get it, they rap it to themselves.
They rap it to themselves. Yeah. So it had the most, and I read this, and I was like,
so can you give us an example of what the rap was like?
I think I might have been on, like, I'm trying to think back to a particular time. Did I have like maybe an infection or
like
something? I was on strong medication, because I was reading it going, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done? So it was
they
like
were trying to figure out the beat. That's why it was like, they couldn't,
no, properly dreadful. I mean, like cringe-worthy dreadful. I come from the north, not the south. It's okay. I don't have a potty mouth. I mean, utterly dreadful. Yeah. So Tim and Adam had said, look, there seems to be a thing right now. Try again. Just go for a run of time for quite a long time. I've been putting quite a lot of native video on, quite a lot of slide decks, blogs. So I've been kind of, being a good member. And I applied 6 hours later. Boom, in. Granted.
Nice.
So there was an article put out by Andy Foote, who if those don't know, Andy Foote, F-O-O-T-E, and he basically said that what they do, LinkedIn, is that they come and look at your profile. It's a manual process, and what they look for is video. So there's some big LinkedIn influencer, I believe, who applied for it and didn't get it. And she went ballistic. And then someone pointed out, yeah, but you don't do any video. So you need to be leaving a trail of video. So with my Tim Talks podcast, I do a video every Monday. There was that audit trail of video. So I got it, and Eric's got it because he's got Crocscast, and you do a video on Wednesdays, don't you? A piece.
Yeah, and I'll also do every opportunity, if I can introduce something with a little 1 minute video or something, I just try to get as much video credit on there as possible. And it, in 6 hours. And video seems to be a lever to LinkedIn Live.
Native video as well.
Native,
yeah, uploading the video.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day. They said, "Well, I'm putting a lot of TikTok stuff up there, and it's not really working." But it's not native stuff. So
no.
Yeah.
And it's got TikTok logo on it, and you go,
yeah,
oh yeah, you just spent all your day on TikTok trying to find videos to put on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Do you not have a proper job?
Yeah, very good. So yeah, my rap was rejected.
Unsurprisingly, really, was it?
Should have really been more of an expectation than a.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking back. Yeah, again, I think I might have been on like strong medication or something at the time. But at some point, I went, "That'll work. That'll get them."
I need to use a little Gestalt thinking here.
Oh man alive! What was I thinking? And now this is recorded forevermore on Tim's LinkedIn Live. I'm so sorry.
If someone watches the whole of this for an hour, they might find it. The likelihood of
I think we're safe. I think we're safe. Oh dear.
Oh boy.
Right. So we've been on here an hour. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for the comments. It's the comments that make this, is the interaction with the audience, the questions, and thank you to the panel, because it's been a lively discussion, and hopefully people have learned something from it. I always learn something from this stuff. It's I'm in an environment where you've got to be constantly learning, and I hope you have as well.
So and have a little bit of fun along the way.
Yeah, and have a bit of, and what was that word again, Lenwood?
Telecosm.
There we go. And whale oil.
And whale oil. You learn a bit about whale oil. You can look that up.
Don't forget
the leather. Don't forget leather.
We're not going to mention the leather bit.
I was hoping we'd forget that one.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as usual.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for
Have
the
a great
invitation.
weekend.
You too.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great chat.